According to the site Holocaust Sources in Context, Nazi propaganda often portrayed people persecuted by the regime as vermin, parasites, or diseases. German doctors argue that Jews spread disease, pushing the false claim that Jews were responsible for outbreaks of typhus, a deadly contagious disease spread by lice. In 2021, Andrew Dymock, a neo-Nazi ringleader, was found guilty of terrorism charges. He also published an article stating that Jewish people were a cancer. Can you see a pattern of language and thought here? Hi, my name is Amanda. I have a master's in linguistics, and today we are diving into a concept that might seem a bit abstract, but it has very real and very dangerous consequences. In this video, I will explain how the concept of ethnic cleansing or racial hygiene is tied to the metaphor of the health of the state as a person. We will explain how this metaphor, the way we talk about nations as if they were people, can be twisted to justify some of the most horrific acts of violence. This isn't just academic. Understanding this connection is crucial for recognizing and preventing these atrocities. Before that, though, I want to make a little disclaimer and say that English is not my first language, so I might make a couple mistakes. You can follow what I'm saying with the subtitles. If you want to correct something that I said wrong in the comments, you can. The only rule is to be nice and kind, but this is my rule for all the time, always in my channel, anyways, which is to be respectful and kind in the comments. I am a person, even though you are not seeing my face. And if you want to comment on someone else's comment, please be respectful and kind to them as well. Okay, having said that, let's begin. So, what do I mean by state as a person? I have previously made a video about this metaphor, which should be appearing right now in the upper corner of your screen. But if you haven't watched that one, I'll give you a summarized definition of what the state as a person metaphor means. This metaphor serves as a tool to conceptualize countries in terms of people. It appears in the way we often talk about countries. We say things like America wants to do X, or France feels like A, B, or C, or Germany needs X, Y, and Z, for example. Linguists like George Lakoff have shown that this isn't just casual language. It reflects how we actually think. We understand abstract concepts like the state by comparing them to something familiar, ourselves. This metaphor gives the state human like qualities, a will, emotions, even a body. And just like a person, the state's body can be healthy or sick. Here's where things get dangerous. When a state is seen as sick, the next question is what's causing the illness? Unfortunately, this can lead to the demonization of certain groups, often minorities, who are seen as foreign bodies or contaminants, threatening the state's health. This language of disease and purity creates a justification for exclusion, persecution, and even violence. It creates an us versus them pattern of speech and thought and transforms them into a threat that must be eliminated for the state to recover. Sadly, history is full of examples. Like I've mentioned in the beginning of this video, anti Semitic Nazi propaganda happens to be filled with this kind of rhetoric. According to psychologist Richard Koenigsberg, the ideology of nationalism declares that the impulse towards survival should be directed towards the body politic rather than toward one's actual body. The body politic becomes a substitute for one's own body. Human beings create and identify with nations based on the fantasy that countries are immortal bodies politic. Unlike one's actual body, frail and vulnerable, subject to death and decay, nations are imagined to be invulnerable bodies capable of living on through time. When I read that, I thought this is amazing because this is one of the ways in which the state as a person metaphor can be used and understood. And Konigsberg is a psychologist, not a linguist. Still, we can see here that the state as a person concept is being applied even if it's not directly being named in other areas of knowledge such as psychology. So, like Königsberg affirmed, in Nazi Germany there was a great preoccupation with the health of the body politic, which was seen as an idealized extension of oneself. The Nazis explored the concept of racial hygiene and purity to dehumanize Jews and other minorities, falsely portraying them as a disease infecting the German nation. This propaganda was used to justify their genocide. It's important to understand that the concept of racial hygiene did not begin with the Nazi Party. Many Western countries had eugenics movements and laws that reflected the idea that some races were superior to others, but the Nazis purposefully used this ideology to justify their atrocities. It's important to understand that metaphors themselves aren't inherently evil. In fact, using the state as a person metaphor per se, and even being proud of your origins, is not a bad thing. The metaphors can be used for evil purposes, especially when they are used inadvertently without critical thinking involved. By recognizing how conceptual metaphor works, especially by being aware of this insidious nature of the metaphor of a group of people being considered a disease of the body politic of a country, we can become more aware of the dangerous language that precedes acts of ethnic cleansing. We can challenge those who use this language and work to build a world where differences are celebrated, not feared. What do you think about all of this? Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope this video has shed some light on this important topic. Please share your thoughts in the comments. Remember to be respectful when doing that. And don't forget to subscribe for more content. Let's work together to build a more just and understanding world. I hope to see you again soon. Thank you so much again. Bye bye.